So the first time I remember hearing a discussion about the possibility of a program, First Families of Tennessee, was when our former executive director, Cheryl Henderson, at that time she was the assistant director, and she had heard about a similar program in another state. And we were leading up to the birthday for the state in 1996, and she felt like that it might be something that would have a little interest to begin a program where folks could document their connection to people that lived in what became Tennessee.
So from 93 to 96 was supposed to be the charter members, but when 1996 came around, they said, well, we're not going to close the program, we're going to continue. And the wonderful thing is, here we are in 2025, and I still process over 180 applications a year, sometimes as many as 200. Of people who are still, all these years later, after 1996, we're almost, 30 years later now, recognizing people who want to get a certificate for First Families. If you are the descendant of a brother or a sister of a young man who died in the Civil War or served in the Civil War, you can qualify for Civil War Families of Tennessee. So it's a similar application. You fill out the first page with you and the ancestor, and then the second page is line of descent, and then you do have to include all the linking information and then proof of their service. And they can use the compiled service records, military records, things like that to prove the service.
Those programs have been incredibly important, but we realize that there are a lot of individuals who would like to participate that just physically weren't here yet, miss it by just a short period of time. And there are other stories to tell.
Well, we're really excited to be able to announce that the First Families and Civil War Families programs are growing. And so what we hope to do, and what we're moving to do now, is to expand the genealogical programs to include 1870s families, to include the War of 1812 families, to include century families who've been vested in Tennessee for 100 years, and World War I families.
So we're going to have War of 1812 families, and it's for people who resided in Tennessee and the ancestor had to have served in the War of 1812. And there are lots of good records for that. Then we're going to have families of 1870, because 1870 is the first census after the Civil War, and we are now including all citizens. They have to have resided in Tennessee for the 1870 census and have proof of their lineage from them, from 1870 down to the present. Then we're going to have World War I families. So anyone who has an ancestor who served in World War I, that's 1914 to 1918, and has residency in Tennessee can qualify for World War I families. And that should be not as hard to do either, because you're only having to go back a little bit more than 100 years, and census records will help a lot with that. You might not even need birth and death certificates for your proof. And then we're going to have century families for anybody who can prove that they have resided in the state for at least 100 years. And the great thing about that is it's going to be a moving target.
I could see how it would seem daunting at first to join any of the Tennessee Ancestors programmings, but it's so rewarding, because the second you embark on that journey with the help of people like Ann Bloomquist and Eric Dawson and other people that are here in the East Tennessee History Center to help you on that journey, you'll start discovering things about your family and about yourself that you never imagined.
People who are members of First Families are understandably excited to be part of that program. It is an honor, but it's also sort of exclusionary. Not everybody can trace their family back that far. So in order for these other programs to be happening, it's really exciting because it can make people feel like they're included as well. It's going to encourage, hopefully, people to seek out their own family histories. And we'll just have more people knowing more about themselves and the history and of their neighbors, themselves, their families, and their region.
Doing research and thinking about these collections of original source material, what can then we learn from those collections forward and identify people and their stories, and then share them forward with communities and families that weren't even aware it was there. And I think that's the real potential that we have.
I just want to encourage everybody to join Tennessee Ancestors, because we all are East Tennesseans. And I really think it's a way that connects us all. And there are so many programs. I'm really proud of the fact that East Tennessee ancestors will be more inclusive, and that we are looking at the sort of documentation that we use to be inclusive and to bring families in. And I just think that being able to be this way is history for everybody. It's history for all y'all. And I'm really excited about where we're going.